We don't know if Gronk is coming back, even though some of us can bet that he will come back. What's up, everyone? This is Keith Sanchez from the Draft Network, here to break down the Tampa Bay Bucs 2022 draft. First, before we get into the draft, we have to talk about the Tampa Bay Bucs as a whole, right? We know that they got Tom Brady back in the offseason after his brief, I believe it was 40-day retirement. So that really changed the dynamics of where this team stands, and I'm more than sure their draft philosophy. So without a first-round draft pick, they knew that they had to fill holes to really get them to be Super Bowl contenders. So I was really excited about seeing exactly what the Tampa Bay Bucs were going to do in this draft. So with their first selection in the second round, they selected Houston edge rusher Logan Hall. Logan Hall showed to have really good athleticism. He has really good length, and he's a guy that can be a really good project, right? And last year we know that the Tampa Bay Bucs, they took Joe Tryon, and throughout the season, Joe Tryon really turned it on and showed that he can be a starter. So I project that the Tampa Bay Bucs front office and coaching staff, they came in agreement that they believe that Logan Hall can be a really good football player. But for me personally, and watching him at the Senior Bowl, I thought this was a bit of a reach, not too much. I understand positional value here, but I still thought this was a bit of a reach. But I do feel as though in this system, Logan Hall can reach his peak. So my projection for Logan Hall for next year was that he will start off as a rotational edge guy, and then by the time the Tampa Bay Bucs have to really make that playoff run, he'll be primed and ready to go. And then the Tampa Bay Bucs will really have a really good edge rush, D-line rotation to get after the quarterback. And with their second round pick in the draft, the Tampa Bay Bucs decided to go with Luka Deck. Luka Deck is an interior offensive lineman that has positional versatility, meaning he can play left guard or right guard for the Tampa Bay Bucs. We all know that Tom Brady, he's a quarterback. He loves to be able to step into the pocket so he can make those accurate throws. So the Tampa Bay Bucs decided to really invest into those interior offensive linemen so they can protect up front. For me personally, I felt that this was a bit of a reach here, but I do understand them taking this football player because the way that the draft fell and the way that the board fell, you almost want to take best available, and you also have to take a guy at this position because you understand that you have an aging quarterback in Tom Brady, and he needs that protection, especially when you get into the playoffs to make those runs. So I thought this was a bit of a reach for the player, but I understand the draft selection overall. So for this upcoming year, I really project Luka Deck to really compete for one of those positions. We know there's been a lot of change in that guard, center guard position. So I feel as though this is a player that can compete for that starting position, and I look forward to coming up in this upcoming year. Next up, I have Arizona State running back Rashaad White. For me, this was a good pick and a slight steal. They were able to get this guy at really good value for me. Rashaad White is a guy that's shown that he has really good pass protection ability, which Tom Brady needs. But then also he's one of those running backs that can kind of just leak and seep out of the backfield on those dink and duck passes, be able to catch the ball and quickly get upfield. And we all know that just in Tom Brady's history, whether it was with the Bucs when they won a Super Bowl and then Fournette was able to serve that role, or back with the Patriots, Tom Brady loves those outlet passes to those running backs, and Rashaad White is that type of football player. And he's also very big, right? He's not the same size of a James White. I believe Rashaad White is 6'2", 200 plus pounds, so he can also run in between the tackles. So this is a very versatile running back, and for me, I thought that this was really good value. And projecting him next year, I think this is a guy that immediately fits into this running back rotation. So I think early on, he will see a good bit of the carries because they're going to try to get him implemented while also keeping Leonard Fournette on the sideline just to kind of keep him healthy. So when it's time to make that playoff run, they can make that playoff run and they have the experience back in Leonard Fournette. So Tampa Bay Bucs fans, be looking for Rashaad White early and often. Next up, I have Washington tight end Cade Otton. Cade Otton, for me, when I watched him on film, and he really stuck out because he was just one of those football players that did everything right? There wasn't any superstar type traits, abilities, or qualities, but he still just did everything right. And I think that means a lot, especially for Tom Brady. Tom Brady is a precision guy. He's an accurate guy. And most of his wide receivers / tight ends, they have option routes, right? So you need a smart, intelligent football player that just does things the right way. And that's exactly what Cade Otton is. Looking at the Tampa Bay roster, we don't know if Gronk is coming back, even though some of us can bet that he will come back. But we know that they lost O.J. Howard. So if they want to go into those two tight end sets, they need another tight end. And I believe that Cade Otton can really fill that role. Early on, I believe that Cade Otton will serve as a backup because they have Rob Gronkowski. But we all know that once these guys get this experience and once Tom Brady trusts them, then he will put them on the field. And I think that's exactly what we will see with Cade Otton. So I'm looking towards the back end of the season to see more Cade Otton. And who knows, he may make some of those one of those spectacular plays or just game-changing plays in the NFC Championship game or in the playoffs that we like, man, okay, Cade Otton showed up. So I'm really excited about this football player, and that's why I have him ranked as a slight steal. And with their second pick in the fourth round, the Tampa Bay Bucs, they went off the beaten path just a little bit and decided to draft Georgia punter Jake Camacho. Camacho was known as the best punter in this year's draft, and we have to remember before we get critical of this that there's three facets of the game, right? There's offense, defense, and then there's special teams. But the Tampa Bay Bucs have showed us that, hey, you know what? They plan on dominating on all sides of the field, and that field position ultimately really matters. So taking this player could have been a slight overdraft or a slight steal, depending on how you want to look at it. But I think he's a good football player. And like I said, at the end of the day, field position matters. So Jake Camacho, punter from Georgia, may have been an overdraft from some, but with a team like the Tampa Bay Bucs, it's appropriate. They need to dominate on all facets of the football field, on all three facets of the team. So I really like this pick. With their fifth round pick, the Tampa Bay Bucs went back on the defensive side of the ball and drafted Sam Houston State corner Zion McCollum. McCollum is one of those corners that has really good length and tested athletically really well. So when you think about this Tampa Bay defense, right, the corners over the past couple of years have showed to kind of be a weak point, right? And I think that the Tampa Bay Bucs, they wanted to address this position earlier, but didn't have appropriate value. So drafting Zion McCollum in the fifth round, I think is really good value at this pick. This guy is a really good athlete, has really good athleticism, and a guy like Todd Bowles will understand that, you know what, this is a young player, so I don't believe he will put too much on his plate. But in the fifth round, you want to draft those players that they have some flaws, but they have extreme upside. And that's exactly what the Tampa Bay Bucs did with this draft. Early on in Zion's career, I believe that Zion will be a rotational guy while he learns the X's and O's of the game and, you know, just develops his instincts overall for the game. But he will be able to play and be able to get on the football field. And hopefully by the end of the year, you have a really good cornerback that you can put into the rotation, especially when you get into the back end of the year when we know injuries and things like that happen. So Zion McCollum in the fifth round, I really like this selection. With their sixth round pick, the Tampa Bay Bucs drafted Minnesota tight end KoKEEM. This was their second tight end of the draft, and I think they're trying to tell us something, and that's that they really want to draft. They really want to address the tight end position with this draft, and they feel like it's a position of need, right? KoKEEM is a tight end that you could align in line, and he's a really good blocker. So if the Tampa Bay Bucs want to go into that personnel to where they're running 2 and 3 tight ends on the field, they have the ability to do that. So KoKEEM, he's shown to be a really smart football player, has really good hands, and he's a really good blocker. So while I don't think he'll ever be your number one target guy, he is a really good blocker and be a really good, reliable football player for the Tampa Bay Bucs. Early on in KoKEEM's career with the Tampa Bay Bucs, I think he will do just that. He will be that blocking tight end. They'll be able to do multiple things with him. He'll also should be a really good tight end, special teams player also. And with their last pick in the draft, they went down to Bayou Country, down to those LSU Tigers, and selected LSU defensive end Andre Anthony. Andre Anthony would have probably went much higher in this draft, but he suffered a torn ACL, I believe week 3 or week 4 of the season, and it really stopped him from being able to put together a complete resume for his senior year. But I think that the Tampa Bay Bucs felt comfortable to take a flyer on this guy in the draft because he's shown to have high upside, right? This is a 6'4", 6'5" defensive end edge rusher that's a really good athlete that showed pretty well at his pro day also. So in the 7th round, I thought this was a pretty good value for him because you're taking a flyer on a guy that, like I said, he has high upside. And once again, that's what you want to do in the 7th round. You want to take those players at premium positions and bet on traits and decide, hey, if I can get the most out of this guy, where will he fall? So early on in Andre Anthony's career, I think that he will have to get acclimated a little bit. You want to make sure that he's healthy 100% from that torn ACL, and then maybe by the back end of the season, he can be a projected rotational guy. So I like the pick at this position for Andre Anthony. So overall for me, while the Tampa Bay Bucs had some reaches as far as my personal draft grades compared to where they drafted those football players, I thought there were some reaches, but you have to look at things in context, right? That the Tampa Bay Bucs, they're just trying to fill some holes so they can make sure that they can make that Super Bowl run. So if you look at it from drafting for positional needs while also positional value and drafting those premium positions, I think the Tampa Bay Bucs did a really good job drafting overall, and I'm excited to see what they do in this upcoming season and see if Tom Brady can get another ring on his finger and some of these guys can help him accomplish that feat. Make sure you guys make sure to comment and tell me how y'all feel about the draft synopsis, and then don't forget to like and subscribe at the Draft Network.